Hey 49er fans, this video is brought to you by Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com/49ers for 20% off your first order plus free shipping. Again, manscaped.com/49ers. All right, it's Monday. Means we need to jump into the 49ers news and rumors as training camp is officially upon us, and that means we get a lot of interviews with players and coaches and a lot of fun stuff to dive into. So let's go ahead and start with the news over the weekend that has officially been made official, aka the two big signings the 49ers did, which I said they wouldn't do, and yet here we are. Dion Jordan and Jordan Reed are both officially official 49ers, and they will be a part of this team. They'll be at training camp, and they will go into the 2020 season in backup roles, but at the same time, good depth additions to the 49ers on both the offense and defensive side. Remember, last week, all these rumors started happening. Ooh, maybe Dion Jordan. Ooh, maybe Ziggy Ansah. Ooh, maybe Jordan Reed. And I was like, pump the brakes. There's no way. And then here we are. So I'll admit when I'm wrong, but it's kind of fun because these are two good additions for San Francisco. Obviously, Dion Jordan, past season was good, 7.5 sacks. You go all the way back 4 seasons, and it's kind of like, I see why the 49ers were able to get him one for so cheap on a 1-year deal. And this late at the end of the offseason. He will not start, obviously, but he adds great rotational depth to the 49ers defensive line. You look at a guy like DeForest who starts at the right defensive end side. The problem is, with the injury concerns, you kind of want to have someone behind him to kind of rotate in there, and Dion Jordan is exactly that and fits that mold very, very well. So the Dion Jordan signing just right off the bat is absolutely fantastic by San Francisco. There's no reported numbers on the contract details yet, but I guarantee you it's most likely a veteran minimum. It's probably very, very cheap, and so the 49ers add depth. They add a player who has shown, 7.5 sacks. It's possible for him to get up there over 5 sacks, but at a very, very cheap and reasonable price right now for the price-conscious 49ers because they have so many good players they already are having to pay a lot of money to. Jordan Reed, again, makes sense, right? Last year, doesn't play due to concussions. He's had a ton of injuries throughout his career, but when healthy, he's proven to be an excellent red zone target and a tight end that can not only block, but you can stretch him out and put him in the slot, much like George Kittle. He's not going to take away snaps from George Kittle. He's only going to enhance the George Kittle snaps because there are times when George Kittle needs to breathe and take a break, and then you insert Jordan Reed, and it's a lot better. It's just a lot better overall receiving tight end than, say, a Ross Dwelley who would have been tight end number 2 going into the 49ers 2020 season. The Jordan Reed signing, again, if he plays 0 snaps, it's so darn cheap at a veteran minimum signing that it wouldn't even matter if he played or not. Anything you get out of Jordan Reed is just going to be an additional icing on the cake to an already stacked 49ers offense, which I think can be a top 10 offense in the National Football League. So we start off with the signings. It's just good news for San Francisco. I don't know the timetable in terms of when they get there. They go through the coronavirus stuff, and then they officially start at training camp when they will be on the field, but expect that to be sometime this week, and we'll have updates for you guys on that as the week continues here on the 49ers Report. Also, before we keep going, though, which one do you guys think will have a bigger impact? Which free agent addition will have a bigger impact for the 49ers? Type R for Jordan Reed or type J for Dion Jordan? Kind of fun, right? Both backups, but both important. Who will have a bigger impact? Let me know down at the pinned comment down below in the comment section. All right, moving on. So this is interesting in terms of an inside look at how the 49ers are handling coronavirus and how the players are dealing with the different COVID restrictions that are happening right now, not only in San Francisco, but around the rest of the 31 football teams in the National Football League. So with the 49ers back at training camp, we've seen some things. If you're like a Twitter guy or you watch the NFL Network or ESPN, you kind of see that there are some protocols that certain players have to go into. But it's interesting to hear players talk about how that's affecting their practice, affecting their overall game, because as we know, the biggest war right now in the NFL is going to be who's going to stay healthy, right? Which team is going to have the least amount of positive cases, as they've had the initial test. So the initial guys have tested positive, and the majority of them, not all of them, are going to be back with their football teams in a matter of days, if not weeks. But the real question is, who stays healthy once the NFL season starts? Because eventually you will have a positive test, and then you got to isolate, and you got to make sure that that person does not infect the rest of the football team. The 49ers themselves, much like every NFL team, must stay healthy. Here's what Jimmy Garoppolo had to say, though, when asked about the impact of COVID-19 in terms of the day-to-day procedures as a quarterback at training camp. He said, quote, "Your mornings take a little longer to come in. You got to go through all the testing, answer the survey, and all that. There's a lot of little pieces that go into it, but it's like anything. It's part of your routine now. Just kind of getting used to it, and you adapt to it. But I think the biggest difference is just the time efficiency, I would say. You can't really go from one thing to the next real fluidly. It's different than it was before." And yes, of course, it is different than it was before. And yes, they do go through a lot of tests and a lot of temperature checks and a lot of questions as they enter not only the 49ers facility, but everywhere else. I think a great indicator and a great look just how different everything is. Here is one of Jimmy G's press conferences that he has, and obviously he'll be in front of the media a lot during training camp because that's just how training camp works. Except for this time, he's in the press conference room, and there's like basically no one in there. There's a couple of team guys that you see, but basically via this tweet, you can see that there's nobody in there because everyone is doing a virtual interview process. So just kind of different how things change. A lot of people are at training camp. A lot of fans will go to training camp. A lot of media members, I myself have been to NFL training camps, and you're in these kind of interview rooms, and now it's completely different. And maybe the 49ers and the players like that, less distractions around them, but it's definitely a weird time all around. Kyle Shanahan hit on kind of what we talked about a little bit earlier on in this show about how you got to limit the spread, and he had an excellent answer when asked about that, saying, quote, "But you realize how we've not been able to spread it before that. If we can keep it from coming in here, which I know eventually it will, whether it's one person or two people, but as long as we keep spread out, it shouldn't ever take out too many people is what you're hoping for. It's hard to comprehend until you get here, but I do feel it's got a good chance." And again, this was all part of an article that I read earlier, how Kyle Shanahan was asked about how he was being honest and said, "I didn't think the NFL season was actually going to happen, and now that I've gotten inside the 49ers organization and seen all the protocols that Jimmy Garoppolo talked about, he thinks it definitely has a chance." But the big thing here is, of course, once somebody tests positive, whether it's tomorrow or whether it's week 8 in the National Football League, any time between the beginning and end of the NFL season, they have got to immediately find that person, right? As soon as they test positive, find him, isolate him, keep him away from everybody else, because the real factor, and if the NFL season finishes or not, is not going to be if one or two people get it. It's if a bunch of starters on one team get it, and then you got to quarantine 10 players, and then you have a giant problem. So it's just interesting. I wanted to break that down for you now that both Kyle Shanahan and Jimmy Garoppolo have given us a kind of an inside look at how it is going inside the 49ers training camp. Nobody currently this week and last week has tested positive for COVID-19 or put on the reserve list. That's good news for the 49ers. Let's hope that that continues. And speaking of hoping, drop a like down below to wish the 49ers a happy and healthy training camp. Give it a thumbs up if you hope the 49ers and the rest of the NFL can stay healthy, because Lord knows we need that right now. Give us a thumbs up on this video. And speaking of staying healthy and looking your best, of course, our sponsor for today's video is Manscaped. 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com/49ers. This is our basically gift to you here on a Monday, because Manscaped is such a great company with fantastic products. They have a specific deal for all the 49er fans and 49er Report fans right now. Again, at manscaped.com/49ers. You can get all these products, but mainly the Lawnmower 3.0, which is the one they sent me at the very beginning. I'm using it every single week. And it's fantastic because it has the little guard on the little trimmer, so you can't cut yourself as you are trimming anywhere on your body, which, trust me, is very important for certain areas. You know what I'm talking about. They also have the perfect package, which comes with a bunch of different gear that they have, kind of all their hits and their favorites there, as you see with the boxers and the traveling bag as well. It's all there at manscaped.com. But if you go to manscaped.com/49ers, you get 20% off your order plus free shipping right now. Okay, final little thing here on our 49ers news and rumor video. The Athletic has decided to talk bad about the 49ers defense and said the 49ers defense is going to take a massive step back from where they were last season. So obviously the 49ers, in my opinion, have a top 5 defense in the NFL right now. And the Athletic decided to go ahead and rank all 32 defenses, and they moved the 49ers back 4 positions from where they were last season, which is like mind-blowing, because did the 49ers get better or worse? It's kind of up for debate, although I would say that they got better. Did they really get worse? That's the question we're going to answer here right now. Before I show you these very strange rankings, to subscribe to the 49ers Report, because we have nonstop coverage here in terms of the 49ers all offseason and into the start of the NFL season. And speaking of which, later this week, we're going to be doing my final 53-man roster projection breakdown. So my picks for all 53 spots on the roster. That's coming up later this week, so subscribe. That way you guys are ready and notified whenever that comes out. Here is the top 10 according to The Athletic in terms of defenses. Ravens, Chargers, Steelers, Saints, Bears are your top 5. And it's like, okay, well, the 49ers are not there. Then there they are. 6 is 49ers, 7 is Broncos, 8 is Bills, 9 is Patriots, and 10 is Bucks. The Patriots are still there at 9, even though they've had a bunch of defensive players opt out of the 2020 season. Kind of a red flag. So you're telling me the Bears defense overall is better than San Francisco? You're telling me the Saints defense overall is better than San Francisco? This makes absolutely no sense. Last year they had the 49ers as the second best defense. That's what they were basically rated the entire year. I can kind of understand Ravens and Chargers. They are both very good defenses. The Steelers are good as well. But you're telling me the Saints and Bears are better than San Francisco? That makes absolutely no sense. Now, if it's not a question of where they are ranked, a question of are they going to be better or worse than they were last year? And I think they're going to absolutely be better. Now, you let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. If you think they'll be better, then type B for better, type W for worse. But I think they're absolutely getting better because all they did was add players and have players who are younger get another offseason and year of experience. Now, the Athletics' answer to all of this in terms of why they downgraded them was this, quote, San Francisco traded DeForest Buckner to the Colts, but still has Nick Bosa and Eric Armstead up front. 49ers need Dee Ford to be healthy and productive and could use an immediate contribution first-round draft pick Javon Kinlaw at defensive tackle. They won't be quite as good without Buckner, but should be strong overall. Okay. DeForest Buckner's a great player. Captain of the defense last year. Don't get me wrong. Fantastic player. That's why they got a first-round draft pick for him when they traded him to the Indianapolis Colts. You're telling me they're not going to be as good, though, when they replaced him with Javon Kinlaw, and the rest of the defense as a whole is healthier and should be 100% in terms of the young players getting more playing time? I get that DeForest Buckner was fantastic last year because he was. He was really, really good. 7.5 sacks, 62 tackles. The stats were, you could argue, a little bit better than Nick Bosa, even though Nick Bosa had more sacks overall and more quarterback hits, but Buckner was a very important piece on the D-line. That's true. But now, you swap Buckner for Javon Kinlaw, who everyone thinks is more than capable of filling his role. You get a healthy D4, which is very important, and you also add Dion Jordan to that defensive line. So the D-line didn't get worse at all. And then just going everywhere else, Akilla Witherspoon gets another year. Obviously, you're going to get another year from Dre Greenlaw. I think the defense overall is better than they were last year, so I don't get the hate from the Athletic. Maybe Ravens, Chargers, and Steelers, sure, but Saints and Bears? What are we doing here? It makes absolutely no sense, which is why I brought it up for you guys here, because we're keeping it real and honest as we always do on the 49ers Report. There you go, though. All the time we have for today here on this edition of the 49ers Report. Of course, I'm your host, Thomas Mott. We will have that 53-man roster probably either out tomorrow or the next day, so stay tuned for that. I'm going to break that all down for you guys, and my final picks can be very, very interesting. All the time we have for today, though, on the 49ers Report. I'm Thomas Mott, signing off for the rest of your day.